we have some leeks, potatoes and onions. Before I started cutting my leeks, I washed it with cold water. I brought it back over to the chopping board to begin chopping. I made sure the leek was in small pieces so they would cook well enough. I then got rid of my end piece of the leek and started putting my leeks into a saucepan. I did this carefully so I wouldn't spill any, even though I lost 1 or 2 leeks in the process. Now we move on to potatoes. I started by peeling them. Be careful with the peeler, make sure you always peel downwards. That is the best option I can give you. Best solution. Best advice I can give you. Make sure you always peel downwards. I continued to peel the potatoes, making sure it was all clean. Here is me showing you what it looks like. And then after this, I started to cut it up into smallish pieces and put into my saucepan that had water inside and was ready to cook. Then we move on to onions. I attempted to take off the first layer of onion, but I was struggling and I couldn't do it. So I decided to use the knife and cut into the onion. I removed the part that I didn't want and didn't need, and then went on to cutting my onions. Onions make me cry when I cut them, so me doing this was pretty painful, but you know, onions make a lot of people cry. And then I went and I decided to put them into the pan with the leeks. The onions and leeks in one pan and the potatoes in the other pan. Then I moved on to my mushrooms. I washed my mushrooms and I put them into a bowl and began cutting the mushrooms. When I cut mushrooms, I obviously normally cut them down the middle and then just continue to cut them until they're small. Me personally, I like to keep my stem on my mushroom. I cut more mushrooms and then I moved them into a bowl. And I finished cutting up my mushrooms and then I went to check on my potatoes. I then noticed my potatoes were done and I started adding them to my blender. You can then see I added coconut milk, pure butter, which is vegan, and salt, and mashed it together into a blender. I then put oil into a pan and made sure it was hot, like you can see the oil there boiling. I added the mushrooms to the pan to fry them. As you can see, this pan is hot, so just be careful when adding the mushrooms to the pan. I moved the mushrooms around a bit and then I went to go and check on my soup. And as you can see, you can already see that's boiling just by the bubbles and the condensation on the glass. I then went and added some salt to my soup. I went and added some barbecue seasoning. And then lastly, I went and added some paprika. The smoked paprika. Paprika smoked. I went and added some red pepper style hummus to my mushrooms and let them cook. While doing this, I went and checked and tasted my soup just to check all the flavour was there and all. I then moved on to buttering my bread with the pure vegan butter. And I did this 4 times because I got 4 bits of bread. I put the mushrooms into the small glass pots and put my soup into bowls. And here is the final product.